Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We got a big crowd here, which is awesome to see. And welcome back. We've been on a break for several weeks, so it's great to be back here. I hope everybody had a wonderful summer. Video of this meeting is streamed live on YouTube and will also be available on Facebook and on the Village's website. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Clerk Saladino to call the roll.
Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee McGee.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Peterson. Absent. Trustee Thompson.
Here.
President Kugler.
Present, and thank you. And Trustee Peterson, I saw her on her way out. She did come, but she felt ill and thought it was best to go home. So we appreciate her efforts and wish her the best. With that, I would like to see if in the audience, I believe we have at least 3 volunteers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Look at this group. Okay, you can stand right there, wherever you're comfortable, and we're going to stand, and you can then start us. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. What a great job, and why don't you wait right there? So somebody can bring you maybe a microphone so you can introduce yourself so everybody on TV can, watch. So tell us your name and what school you go to.
My name is Sarth Koshek. I go to Dr. Julian Rogas. I'm 8 years old.
Awesome.
My name is Nia Koshik. I go to Hilda Walker.
Great.
My name's McKenna Griffin. I go to Hilda Walker.
That is awesome. Well, thank you for coming. I know you're coming because Chief Griffin's getting sworn in, so we appreciate you coming and supporting him and your dad. And thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance. Great job. And continuing, on tonight's item A on tonight's agenda is a proclamation regarding the 32nd annual Race Unity Rally. The annual Unity Rally serves to recognize and appreciate the village's diversity and celebrate the village's rich history and contributions made by all the residents. So I'm first going to read the proclamation, then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the event and hope that you all come out on Sunday, September 10th. Whereas the 32nd Annual Race Unity Rally is an event to reaffirm the commitment to achieving race unity in LaGrange and surrounding communities, and whereas this year the Community Diversity Group calls the village together for an uplifting weekend celebration of human diversity culminating with Race Unity Day, and whereas the concept of unity and diversity is deeply rooted in the fabric of our American society, and whereas progress has been made in the legislative arena, we continue to work to bring us together on a personal level, and whereas the Race Unity Rally will demonstrate the commitment of the people of the Village of LaGrange and surrounding communities to the principle that all are created equal and come together in recognition of the oneness of humanity. Now, therefore, I, Mark Kukler, President of the Village of LaGrange, and we, the Board of Trustees of the Village of LaGrange, do hereby proclaim that Sunday, September 10th, as Race Unity Day, and urge all of our residents of our community to resolve this day to promote in ourselves, our community, our state, and nation those qualities and attributes which will generate the recognition that all humanity belongs to one family, to fight prejudice wherever it is found, and to assure that all persons have equal opportunities regardless of their race. And again, the Race Unity event is hosted by the Community Diversity Group, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in government, civic, and cultural life so that everyone in the LaGrange community is represented and heard. It will hold its 32nd annual Race Unity Rally on Sunday, September 10th, beginning at 3 p.m. Representatives of the Community Diversity Group have requested that we do the proclamation, which we did, and we will present it during the rally. As the Village of LaGrange celebrates and values its diversity and the contributions of all those creating a community enjoyed in LaGrange, September 10th shall be proclaimed Race Unity Day, and you're all welcome here for the event, so please come. We have several oaths to administer today, and the first one is for Police Chief Tim Griffin. After a comprehensive and competitive recruitment process, we are pleased to welcome Timothy Griffin as the next Chief of Police for the LaGrange Police Department. Chief Griffin joined us having most recently served as Deputy Chief in the Village of Mount Prospect. He served in that position since 2014 and several others during his over 25-year career. Among his many qualifications, he is an FBI National Academy graduate, holds a Doctor of Philosophy and Organizational Leadership, and has graduated from the Northwestern University Executive Management and Staff and Command programs. Chief Griffin, I invite you to join Clerk Saladino and your family members up here so that they may administer the oath of office. And please invite whoever in your family would like to attend. I know mom's out there. Anybody that wants to come. And Chief, if you can introduce us, I know we have your wife and your two children, so that we all know who's.
This is my wife, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
McKenna, and my son, Ryan.
Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Timothy Griffin,
I, Timothy Griffin,
having been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
having been appointed to the office of Chief of Police
in the Village of LaGrange,
in the Village of LaGrange,
in the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Chief of Police
the duties of the office of Chief of Police
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Is that? No, whatever you want. Up to you. Okay. Thank you, Chief, for joining us. We really do appreciate it. To Kay, thank you for coming out. And I know as a mother, you're always concerned about your children. Terry, I know that you're concerned when your husband's a first responder. So thank you for sharing them with the Village family. To McKenna and Ryan, thanks for sharing your dad. I know that there's been times due to your dad's profession that he's missed events, and we appreciate the sacrifice that your family makes to make sure our community is safe and vibrant. So thank you to the Griffin family. We do appreciate it. We welcome Chief in to the family. We welcome you, and thanks for coming out today. I think you may have set a record for friends and family that have come for a swearing in, so that's absolutely fantastic. Thanks again. Moving on, we have a motion to approve the appointment of Susan Micah as Budget Officer, Collector, Comptroller, Treasurer, and Finance Director. Susan is taking over the position for Lou Ciparoni. We hope you'll stay as long as Lou did. I think that's 20 several years. But we're thrilled to have you here. I'm not sure if I have anything more than... So, giving a little bit of background, item C on tonight's agenda is the administration of the oath of office for Budget Officer, Controller, Treasurer, Finance Director. These are all roles fulfilled by the Finance Director, who I'm pleased to share that after a comprehensive and competitive recruitment process is Susan Micah. We are pleased to welcome Susan to the Village. To provide some of her background, she was most recently Finance Director at the Village of Winfield. Prior to that, she was the Assistant Director of Finance in the Village of Bolingbrook, Finance Director for the Yorkville, Bristol Sanitary District, Director of Finance for the United City of Yorkville, and Budget and Management Coordinator for the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Ms. Micah brings a wealth of financial acumen to the Village, and we are excited to welcome her. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Susan Micah to the position of Budget Officer, Collector, Comptroller, Treasurer, and Finance Director.
I move for the appointment of Susan Micah as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee McGee. Any discussion? And seeing none, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Trustee Thompson. Trustee Peterson is absent. Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
And with that, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you for coming to the Village. We look forward to all your service and your work, and we're excited to have you. Moving on. Oh, sorry, we got to get you the oath of office. When they say it takes a village, they mean to keep me on track. So thank you, Village Manager Knight, for that reminder. And Clerk Saladino, I think, was yelling in the other ear, so we have it.
Please repeat after me. I, Susan Micah,
I, Susan Micah,
having been appointed to the office of Budget Officer Collector
having been appointed to the Budget Officer and Collector,
Comptroller, Treasurer, and Finance Director
Comptroller, Treasurer, and Finance Director
in the Village of LaGrange,
in the Village of LaGrange,
in the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Finance Director
the duties of the Office of Finance Director
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think the board would agree that one of the great things we get to do are welcoming the new employees to the village. We're very proud of LaGrange. We love when we welcome the new employees. They're always excited to join us, and we're excited to have them. It's wonderful. And really, not that it's even below that, the next or maybe equally favorite thing to do is to be able to recognize our employees when they do great things. And we have that tonight. We're able to recognize two employees, and those are firefighter paramedics Ball and Findez. Item D is a recognition of firefighters Ball and Findez on the completion of their probation. Completion of the probationary period is a notable accomplishment, and we're glad to recognize the efforts of these firefighter paramedics in achieving this milestone. Chief Novellis, could you provide some more information about what they've accomplished?
You guys want to come up here? The reason I'm calling both these guys up at the same time is because they have kind of similar stories.
Is the microphone working?
Is it working there? Just got to hold a little closer. There it is. All right, so this is firefighter Bull and firefighter Findez. They both started LaGrange on the same day, July 25th of 2022. Both of them actually went to paramedic school together, and both of them had about 2 years experience before they started the village. So that's why I asked them both to come up here. The probation process for the fire department is pretty rigorous. We expect these guys to learn all of the SOPs, all of our rules, and the way we do things. And they get tested on a regular basis. So both these guys, upon their completion, their officers gave them very high marks. So we're very happy that they're here. I could tell you in the first couple months that I've been here, these guys have great enthusiasm. They're always willing to learn, and they're always looking to do extra things, great attitudes. So I think the village is very lucky to have these guys here, and we're going to present them with their helmet shields. As a probationary firefighter, they typically wear an orange helmet shield. That's the way we can easily identify them on the fire ground or in a training drill, so we know that this firefighter is on probation. He may need a little extra work. So now they don't have to wear those anymore. They're going to get nice black helmet shields. I'll give firefighter Bowles his first because he actually has seniority over Findez because he did a little better on the list, but that's not really a moot point. And again, I just wanted to congratulate both of these guys. I wish them a very long, successful, and healthy career. Congratulations.
Congratulations, firefighter Bowles and Findes. We appreciate your commitment to the village. We appreciate your hard work during your probationary period. And again, we understand as first responders that you give up a lot of your personal life to protect the residents in LaGrange. So thank you for that sacrifice, and thank you to your families. I'd also like to recognize all the firefighters that are in attendance tonight, and thank you again for your continued efforts on behalf of LaGrange. And wish everybody a safe time out there. So thank you again, gents, for coming out. Moving along, this past weekend was the LGBA's annual sidewalk sale. I was out of town, but I hear that it was a roaring success. I'm not sure if the LGBA wants to come up and just emphasize how very successful it was.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a very successful event. We had lots of visitors and lots of participation from our retailers, extending from the West End all the way up to the Jackson Square. So we were very pleased with the attendance and very pleased with what the retailers offered.
That is awesome. I heard that there were a lot of deals out there and a lot of purchases made. So fantastic. That's awesome. School is back in session. It has picked up. Pedestrian safety, bike riding safety has to be paramount in all of our minds. A lot of the drivers are parents driving their children to school. It's important that they stay off their cell phones and stop at the stop signs. Last week, again, is when school started. In preparation of that, the LaGrange Police Department issued a series of safety tips aimed at ensuring that students, pedestrians, motorists, and others are safe as they travel throughout the village. And we, as a board, urge everyone to consider these tips and help to contribute to safe travel in our community. Funds remain available for the village's sewer backup prevention program. Again, we will pay up to 50% of the costs for backflow preventers and overhead sewers. It's a great program. If you're on the fence, there is money available, and this might be the year to do this project. It's, again, aimed at helping homeowners protect against sewer system surges inside their homes. It is always administered on a first-come, first-served basis. And again, we urge you, if you're on the fence, to jump in. If you need more information, it's on the village's flood mitigation efforts, or anything on the flood mitigation efforts. You can look at our village's website. We have, in the last 6 or 8 weeks, updated the website. We're trying to communicate more about the village's flood mitigation efforts, the progress on the flood mitigation efforts through the webpage, in the hopes that more people will learn about it, that people won't feel the need to come to the meeting to hear what the latest and greatest is. We welcome everybody to come out to the meetings, to share their concerns, to ask their questions, or to give their comments. I truly believe it's one of the greatest things that living in a small community, you get to come up and the board does listen to you, is concerned about what your thoughts are. And so we do encourage that. We, again, will try to answer under our frequently asked question section the comments or questions that the board hears. So feel free to email, feel free to come and share your thoughts as you have in the past. Next up is the Field of Honor. 2 years ago was the first time that LaGrange hosted the Field of Honor, and as many will remember, there were 500 flags in Denning Park. It's a truly moving event. It was fantastic. I remember I wasn't sure what to expect, and it was probably one of the most moving things I've been involved in. This year, there's going to be 2 celebrations, one on September 3rd, the Sunday of the Labor Day weekend, at 6 p.m. There's going to be some speeches and then a concert till about 7:30. And then the flags will remain up from that point on until September 11th at 4 p.m., where there'll be a closing ceremony. And again, this is on September 11th, and some of the speakers will have actually been at Ground Zero, firefighters that went out there after the Twin Towers came down to help and assist. And they're going to tell their stories about what it was like in the days following September 11th. I know it's going to be very moving. I encourage anyone who can come to either or both September 3rd or September 11th to do so. If you can't make those, feel free to come out in the meantime and just walk through the flags. A lot of the flags will be dedicated to family members that served and some that are still serving. So it's truly wonderful to just spend some quiet time walking amongst the flags. So I welcome everybody to come out. The Field of Honor does have a webpage. You can go on there. They're promoting their time in LaGrange, and it's a wonderful organization. And last but not least, our community diversity is having the mosaics. I was able to participate. I know a lot of the members of the village and the village board participated in building the mosaics. I haven't seen the finished product, but I know that it was looking great, and I want to congratulate them. I think I see Becky in the audience. Do you want to come up and give us an update on how it's progressing and what, if anything, you need?
Yeah, I just really want to express appreciation to the village for all the support that you've given us. And I know Mark was out on the first day. Many of the trustees have been there. We've had people from all over. And we laid tiles Tuesday through Friday and tonight. That's why I was late. Just, variety of people from the community meeting each other. Russell is part of our board, just really great memories. So there's still an opportunity Wednesday night from 3 to 7, 1-hour sessions. So you're not signing up for the whole evening, just 1 hour. Oh, I also have to thank the police and the fire department. Both chiefs were out there. And the firemen loved it so much, they were back pretty much every day. And so we really appreciated that. Yeah, and I think a couple of you have still signed up. So anyway, Wednesday.
Are there open slots?
There are open slots tomorrow, Wednesday rather, 3 to 7, and Sunday the 9th from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m., just 1-hour slots. So just, it's really a lot of fun. Most people say, oh my gosh, the hour's over and I want to stay. And you can do that if you want, or you can just come for an hour. So thank you again.
Thank you, Becky. We appreciate you coming and giving that update. It is a great project. It's amazing how it's coming along, and can't wait to see the finished version. With that, I would ask if Manager Knight has a manager's report.
I do, and thank you, President Kukler. First off, I'd like to welcome Director Micah and Chief Griffin to our team. We couldn't be more excited to welcome you, and we look forward to working with you here. So welcome aboard. Brainerd Avenue water main construction continues on schedule. This project to replace aging water main and lead service lines continues this week with work taking place north of Hillgrove, heading north towards Ogden. As underground utility work finishes, roadway restoration and follow-up work to restore the roadway to an acceptable condition will take place in preparation for the project for resurfacing next year. Work will continue through September with completion expected sometime in October. Looking ahead, the Illinois Harbor Belt Railroad will be performing work on the Cosset Avenue crossing starting on September 11th. The work is expected to last approximately 3 weeks and will include rerouting of the sidewalk on the south side of the crossing to separate the sidewalk from the road. Detour signage will be posted for the duration of the construction project, and information on the project will be communicated through the village's website. President Kukler, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Village Manager Knight. And for several days this week, Public Works Director Colby is at a seminar, and so we are joined with Russell Davenport. So we're happy to have Russell here with his smiley face. Thank you for all that you and your team does in LaGrange. We appreciate it, and it's always great to see you. So thanks for coming by. With that, I would ask Clerk Saladino to read the items on the consent agenda, followed by the items appearing under current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they already have been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, an ordinance granting an amendment to design review permit number 117 for 23 West Callender Avenue. Item B, an ordinance granting design review permit 121 for 620 Burlington Avenue. Item C, a resolution authorizing the purchase of two 2024 Ford F-250 replacement public works vehicles. Item D, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a Kubota F-2690 snowplow from Alta Equipment. Item E, an ordinance authorizing disposal of personal property owned by the Village of LaGrange. Item F, a resolution approving a contract between the Village of LaGrange, Illinois, and Landscape Material and Firewood Sales, Inc. for the 2023 leaf hauling services. Item G, an ordinance approving the enforcement of traffic regulations in the Mason Point subdivision. Item H, an ordinance amending Chapter 78 of the LaGrange Code of Ordinances regarding parking schedules. Item I, minutes of the special joint meeting of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees, Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, Community and Economic Development Commission, Design Review Commission, Environmental Quality Commission, Plan Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals, Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. Item J, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees special meeting, Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. Item K, consolidated voucher 230814, and item L, consolidated voucher 230828. Current business. This agenda item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, an ordinance approving a special use for a drive-in eating place, a plan development, modifications from the zoning code, a site plan, and a design review permit for McDonald's at 100 North LaGrange Road. And item B, LaGrange Business Association West End Arts Festival special events request.
Thank you, Clerk Saladino. At this time, I would ask if there's any public comments regarding agenda items. Thank you, and if you could, please state your name and then why you're here, and we'd be happy to hear your comments.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. My name is Jim Olguin. I'm the zoning attorney for McDonald's. Just wanted to step up and, first of all, thank the village staff for all their assistance and work. We've been working on this project directly with the village staff for about a year now, and they have been a pleasure to work with. And Charity has been here for a while and has always been great to work with. But Kelsey, who was recently hired by the village, has also been fantastic. She's answered every telephone call and every email that I've sent off during that entire period of time, so I really appreciate it. The project as is being presented to you this evening is really the result of all that time and all that work that we've done with village staff. And it's really a collaboration, and we're really proud of the project that is going to be before you. But that collaboration isn't just with the village staff. We also work with our immediate adjacent residential neighbors. Some of are here today, Michelle and Phil, and I don't see Craig, but we've worked with them as well to address some of the concerns that they have. In addition to staff and our neighbors, the other bodies of the village, in particular the Plan Commission, was great. And once again, we took their feedback and incorporated all of that feedback into our project. Really, the only thing that we would note at this point that we would want the village board to consider is modifying from the Plan Commission's recommendation is the hours of operation. What we presented at the Plan Commission and we once again request is to have hours of operation beginning an hour earlier than the Plan Commission recommended, which would be 4, and being able to stay open until midnight on all days, not just the weekends. From an operational standpoint, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the hours that we will in fact open, but we want to have that option should the demand be there without having to come back and ask for a modification to the special use again. So once again, we believe that the investment that's being made to this particular site and the collaboration, the way that we've collaborated in development of the project shows that we definitely want to invest in the community, and we believe that those hours of operation really function for this restaurant and the area. The rest of our development team is here this evening, so if there's any questions as this matter comes before you for discussion, we'll be happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate that. And when we call it, if any of the trustees have any questions, they'll make sure that they ask them and have anybody that wants to come up. If any of the neighbors want to come up and say anything, this would be the appropriate time to do that.
Good evening. My name is Ann Bluen. I live at 110 North Madison Avenue, directly across from west of McDonald's with my husband, Bob. I'm speaking on behalf of ourselves and several of the other neighbors who couldn't be here this evening. As you know, or as you may know from the Planning Commission recommendations, they recommended the opening time of 5 a.m. and the closing time of 11 p.m. excuse me, during the week, and then on the weekends and Sundays before a holiday, 12 midnight, 11:59. We would like to ask the board to honor the recommendations of the Planning Commission. We think that there are plenty of opportunities for people who might need a cup of coffee or a snack nearby 7-Elevens or Dunkin' Donuts in Brookfield if they are out and about at 3 or 4 a.m. and believe that opening at 5 would keep the neighborhood a bit more quiet. So thank you for allowing me to share that opinion.
Well, before you said, let me put you on the spot.
Sure.
Since McDonald's is coming and asking for extended hours, are the residents comfortable with the Plan Commission recommended, or do they want less than those hours?
The residents, I'll speak for myself and several of the other residents that I've spoken with this week, are comfortable with the Planning Commission's modifications of the original request, which was, as you know, for 24 hours. The neighbors, we collected more than 500 signatures, which actually asked not to have a 24-hour operation. So the neighbors, I think, listened to and respected the Planning Commission's modifications and, frankly, compromise. And I believe that would be the way to go.
Thank you very much, and we do appreciate, I know the board does, all the efforts that you, your family, as well as your neighbors, and everybody that signed the petition, because I don't think there's any support for a 24-hour McDonald's. And thank you for leading the charge and making that known. But with that, we'll let the board discuss it as they see fit. Moving on, any other public comments?
I would like to expand on the West End Art Fair. My name is Kathy DeMonico. I'm the CEO, Executive Director for the Grange Business Association. The West End Art Fair will take place September 9th and 10th, which is in 2 weeks. We have over 50 artist booths this year, also a children's area. with a lot of free entertainment, food trucks, and the friendship benches will be auctioned off at 5 p.m. on Saturday, September 9th. This year, we also have a very exciting addition with Matthew Hoffman, who will be presenting his You Are Beautiful display, which we're very honored to get. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Jack's West End. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for coming out. We appreciate it. Obviously, the West End Art Fair is truly one of the gems of LaGrange. It's special. It has some of the most talented artists displaying their paintings, drawings, other artwork, and it's always well attended and great. So I encourage everybody on September 9th and 10th to go out and peruse and purchase. And I know even though Trustee Holder is no longer up there, he's committed to, I think, buying at least one thing every year. So if he's watching at home, I think buying at least one thing every year. So if he's watching at home, I'm sure he'll put a note on his calendar to go out and purchase something. With that, any other public comments for matters on the agenda? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion. If we're going to withdraw an item from the consent agenda, do we ask for the motion first and then a withdrawal?
So if there's somebody who wants to remove an item from the consent agenda, you don't need a full motion for that.
So should we do that before we go now?
Yeah, so you would do that first, take it off the consent agenda, vote on the consent agenda, and that become then the first item after the consent agenda.
Okay, Trustee Augustine mentioned to me that she planned to remove an item. I know it's dealing with the leaf pickup, which is F. So we're going to remove item F from the consent agenda, and I'm looking for a motion for approval of the consent agenda matters A through E and G through L. Anybody who wants to make that motion?
I move for acceptance of the consent agenda. Hold on, I'll do it right. Items A through E and items G through L.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. And a second?
May we discuss items before
I'm sorry.
motioning?
I'm sorry, what?
May we discuss, make a comment
Yeah, we're
on
just
additional
making a
items?
second for the motion. So once the motion is there, then, so Trustee McGee, did you second? Mm-hmm. Thank you. And with that, we can comment on the matters, and I know Trustee Augustine has her normal comment and maybe others.
Well, as you set up for us, we will, I was going to ask, and so we are removing item F, which is a resolution approving a contract between the Village of LaGrange and Landscape Material and Firewood Sales, Inc. for the 2023 leaf hauling services. So I assume we'll be discussing that at a later point in the meeting when we get
Yeah. So this is the consent agenda.
Right.
That's under current. Well, that'll be the next thing we discuss right with current business.
And then, as I routinely do, I recuse, and as I've stated before, I recuse myself from voting on any agenda items related to the village prosecutor. And then I did have a comment about the Mason Point subdivision, as
okay.
discussed. And I think I'm not alone on that one. I wanted to know what, regarding that item, they've asked us to provide parking enforcement to that new subdivision, which is over just across the street from Sedgwick Park on 47th. I wondered if, couldn't tell from reading the notes what prompted that, and is it just generally what it looks to be, which is they'd like help enforcing maybe the people there that are parking on the street too long, or that people that aren't members of that community are parking in there? Could you shed some light on that?
Sure. So the Homeowners Association reached out to village staff. They were desirous of having the same sort of parking enforcement on their private streets that the rest of the village residents enjoy on the public streets. And in order to do so, we needed to go through this process to adopt this ordinance because those streets are privately owned and not village streets.
Was that not discussed when they originally came in, or was it a decision they made to not do it then?
I don't think that it was a matter that came up in conversation, not to my recollection.
So the plan would be, if we approve this, then it becomes just part of the regular rotation for our officers, during the day, during the evening, just to keep an eye on things as they would any other tax-paying household in the village.
Correct.
That's it for me.
I had one question on that one as well. So
And just to be clear, we're talking about item G.
item G, yeah. Those, since it was a private neighborhood, did all those citizens have parking stickers on their cars already, or do we need to make sure that they buy those so that we're covering the cost of patrolling that area?
So the vehicle registration is a requirement for all residents of LaGrange. It's not related to whether the street that you drive on is public or private. So they would still be residents of the village and would be required to have a vehicle sticker.
Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Same
letter
item, yeah. And I guess Charity, since you've got the floor, I'm curious as to the. It just made me think to the members of that HOA, to those residents, do they all pay the same property taxes that everybody else already pays? Like my mind immediately went to like costs. Are there any, cost implications? It's not. It's not a big area, but now our police are going to be patrolling a different part. And Jack, maybe or our new treasurer, our new finance director.
Susan's been here a couple days. She might know.
I can take a stab at it.
Yeah.
So the residents of Mason Point pay property taxes just like any other resident would. The homeowners association owns both the roads and the common green spaces, the landscaped areas, the detention basins within the townhome portion of Mason Point as well. So if you may recall, one of the primary reasons that the roads within Mason Point were not accepted as public streets and were determined by the developer to continue to be private streets was because they weren't built to village standards for our typical public roadways.
Okay, that satisfies me.
I think since it's new construction, the residents of Mason Point will tell you that they pay more than their fair share of taxes. And we're happy that they all moved in. And with that, any other comments on the current agenda prior to voting on the pending motion? Seeing none, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson is absent. Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
And that motion passes unanimously. With that, I would move to G, which was under the consent agenda, which is an ordinance a resolution approving a contract between the Village of LaGrange, Illinois, and Landscape Material and Firewood Sales, Inc. for the 2023 leaf hauling services, and would ask Trustee Augustine to introduce that.
Thank you very much, President Kukler. I'll read the full report, just a page. So this is regarding a resolution approving a contract between the village and private contractor for leaf hauling services. In preparation for this year's leaf collection program, Public Works staff has negotiated pricing with the vendor that provided leaf collection services last year, Landscape Material and Firewood Sales, Inc., otherwise known as LMFS. LMFS was identified as a vendor providing the most competitive pricing last year after a thorough search for a vendor able to perform the service. LMFS has agreed to extend last year's pricing at a per unit cost of $900 per truckload. Each truck holds 100 cubic yards of material. Based on historic trends of material collected, the village estimates up to 8,000 cubic yards of leaf material that will be collected this season, resulting in an estimated total cost of $72,000. Actual costs will reflect the total quantity of leaves removed. The proposal from Landscape Material includes leaf hauling and recycling with leaves processed into organic leaf mulch. Performance of work under the contract is consistent with past practices, and will properly support this year's leaf collection program. Staff recommends approval of the proposed resolution approving a contract between the Village of LaGrange, Illinois and Landscape Material and Firewood Sales, Inc. for the leaf hauling services, and I would motion to discuss it before going to vote.
Sorry, what we'll do is I'll entertain a motion to approve the leaf hauling contract in a second, and if we have a motion in a second, then we'll discuss it. So with that, is there a motion for the leaf hauling program?
So I move we approve the resolution for the leaf hauling contract.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. In a second?
A second.
Thank you, Trustee McGee. With that, I would open it for discussion.
Thank
Trustee
you.
Hardesty?
Thank you, President Kukler, the rest of the board. I've had a discussion with a number of trustees and thought this was important to remove from the agenda and have a bit more of a discussion on, because we tend not to have had a large discussion on this in the past. And last year I had to recuse myself from the discussion because of it was related to someone who was bidding on the project. So I kind of put together some of my thoughts on this, and I'll just read it and we'll go from there. As I said, I've had some conversations about this LEAF program. We all know it as rake the leaves in your yard into the street, you're done. That's a really simple, straightforward program that LaGrange has been doing for a while. But after that, the village spends many hours. I think last year about 800 hours of staff time to collect, and they take multiple kinds of vehicles around block to block to collect these materials, in addition to the $72,000 that we would be paying to a hauler to remove those leaves once they're collected by the village. So I've had the correct conversations about this with many residents, with some of our Environmental Quality Commission commissioners, members of this board, and staff about the way our current program is run these days. In general, my question is, how can we adapt it in a way that still provides a service while also encouraging homeowners to keep leaves on their own property, which has great upsides, instead of shipping them out of town? I'd like to strongly recommend that the Village of LaGrange take a look at how some other communities have adapted their programs. And the question, of course, is why. Of course, as I've said, every year we're raking our leaves into the streets. We're creating thousands of piles in the streets. First and foremost, this can clog our storm sewers, impede the flow of stormwater into our storm sewer system, which prevents them from working properly during a heavy rain event. It also can create hazardous conditions for motorists and children. Another reason why is because this program is expensive, as I've said. The village will spend $72,000 for this, as well as the hours spent by our Department of Public Works pulling this together. Another main reason would be because, frankly, it's terrible for the environment. If 2023 has taught us anything, it's that climate change is here. A resident shared with me not too long ago the following group of note and facts that I'll just read into the record and here. She said, even if you aren't ready to abolish the community collection program, you should be educating residents about why it is a good idea to keep leaves out of the street and compost at home. There are numerous reasons. Hauling of leaves requires excessive burning of fossil fuels, which creates pollution. Hauling of leaves requires excessive burning of fossil fuels, which contribute to climate change and increasingly heavy rains. Leaf mulch protects tree roots from harsh winter months. Leaves provide homes and protection for small animals and beneficial insects. Placing leaves in the street blocks sewers and leads to excess nutrients and stormwater runoff. Removing leaves from your property wastes nutrients that our trees and plants need. Removing leaves means that residents won't be using the leaves to create compost, which enhances the soil's absorption capacity. And she noted that each of us needs to play a role in solving our environmental problem, including climate change and flooding, and I agree. Another resident wrote to me after last year's meeting where we passed this through and suggested that scrapping the program might not be a bad idea for reasons other than monetary. Leaves are actually good for ground cover during the winter months. Those leaf blowers are really bad polluters, and that November wind seemed to blow those piles all over the place. In short, Mother Nature and taxpayers might smile if leaves were either left alone or bagged by residents for pickup. Just a thought. So that's just a couple of the comments that have been forwarded to me or spoken to me about. So what are some of the alternatives that we can look at? Plans would vary. There's a lot of options out there, but in Hinsdale, Wheaton, Elmhurst, Countryside, and Indian Head Park and Westchester, one thing is consistent. No leaves are allowed to be raked into the street. Instead, some towns allow you to bag it for pickup on certain days. Others have waste haulers that provide a separate bin, and all encourage you to keep it in your yard. Many are at least part subsidized by our tax dollars, but are leaning in the right direction. A neighbor to the northwest, Chester, on their website says, consider leaving your leaves instead of bagging and raking. Your fallen leaves, mulch them with your lawnmower. Leaving leaves can help weeds improve soil quality, and provide food and nesting materials for many types of local wildlife. If you plan on bagging your leaves for collection, use leaf bags or reusable yard waste only containers, and place out on your regular garbage collection day. Waste stickers are available at their Public Works Friday for free that can go on the garbage can. So there's a community that's still subsidizing it, but keeping it out of the street. On the other end of things, you've got the community of Wheaton, who has a pay-as-you-go plan. Their garbage service provides RFID tracking on their bins. So if you put your garbage or your waste out on a particular day, you're charged for that. If you don't put waste out that day, you're not charged. So that there's an incentive there to be conservative with it and maybe give it a try and keep it in your own yard. So again, I'd like to see more board discussion on this, hopefully tonight, and in addition to this, and to have our staff take a look at the alternatives for next year, and hopefully the village will save some money, and at the same time will do our environment a very big favor.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Any other trustees that want to comment on it? Trustee Thompson.
Thank you, President Kukler. Yeah, the EQC has talked about this exact issue for the last year and a half that I was on, and I know they were talking about it before. We originally talked about this program as that this was good for the environment because we sent them to a farm in Indiana where they were recycled. No leaves from any village in the state of Illinois goes to landfill. They're all recycled at a compost facility. They're either sent to the private compost facilities like Davy Tree that operates in West Chicago or other places, but when you put brown bags of leaves and yard waste out on the street, they're recycled by law. So us doing this special program is not for the environment. We're doing it against the environment, as Beth said, and I looked it up. Based on where these people are, it's 80 truckloads will be about 3,136 gallons of diesel fuel will burn just to take the leaves over there, which is emitting carbon. I think we have about 800 hours worth of city work, which is all trucks riding around, back skid steers, dump trucks, front end loaders picking up these leaves out of the street, and they're clogging our streets. So we're having to use our super sucker to clean out the leaves out of the sewer when they clog it up. So the whole program is really very antiquated for its time. Only LaGrange Park and partially Brookfield, but Brookfield does not allow them to be swept into the street. Only LaGrange Park is the only community that still does this program. Everyone else has ended it. Indian Head Park and Countryside rake them to the parkway. If you put them in the street, you're ticketed. They then come and vacuum the leaves up. Hinsdale, Westchester, and as she mentioned, one other town, actually, they don't charge you for the bag. You have to bag them up. You put them on the street. You pick up the bags. The bags and the leaves can be shredded. One other thing we can look at is we pick up the paper bags wherever we do it, but we take them to our own composting or mulch center, shred them, and the paper bags break down just as fast as anything else. Shred those leaves along with our sticks and limbs, and we create more compost for the village of the Grange to have. And it actually becomes a better compost because it's not just hardwoods. It has fiber material and instant carbon back into your yard, which is an important thing. So I think we should really look at it for next year on how to modernize our program, eliminate this program, and move us along with what the EQ suggested, and basically the EPA and everyone else would like us to do is be more environmentally friendly and conscious of the program and move it out of this clogging the streets with leaves.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Any other trustee comments regarding this matter? Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree. We should, consider making changes to this program going forward. I do think we should vote for it now. Otherwise, we'd be pulling the rug out from under of all of our residents. But we've also got our October meeting coming up, right? Our strategic planning, and seems like a great topic and a good thing to discuss then. So that's all.
I couldn't agree more. Any other trustee comments? Seeing none, I would ask for a roll call vote on the ordinance. I do appreciate the trustees indicating that it's a matter worth considering. I do agree that it's worth considering. I do think that the majority of the residents like having their leaves picked up, but I would encourage the residents to let us know whether it's something that you enjoy or would you rather not have as a service, because it does cost money. I personally compost my leaves for gardening purposes, but again, it's my experience that the majority of residents like the program. I am familiar with Countryside's program and actually was with a Countryside the alderman this weekend and asked them about it, and they do mandate that the leaves be parked or raked to the parkway and then vacuumed up. So I think when we're evaluating the program, staff can evaluate whether that's possible for LaGrange, what the increased costs would be with regard to that. Also evaluating, eliminating or saying that residents can bag them and the village still pick up the bags, or going forward with, again, keeping the program as it is, or eliminating any subsidy of the LEAF program and going to where residents would either purchase the yard waste disposal can that Flood Brothers has available currently, or purchase bags, the brown bags that are available at most hardware stores, and a yard waste sticker, and then have the leaves disposed of. So there are the several different options that the board can consider in the next year. So thank you for that. Oh, Trustee Augustine?
I'm sorry, I tried to get your attention just before also. To add one more thing, I live on a corner. I've got a lot of leaves, and the program is very convenient. It's a wonderful service that we offer, and no one's trying to take away an option for the resident. I think we're just trying to encourage better habits. And in the last couple of years, I haven't raked any of my leaves to the curb. I've taken the mower, which is electric, put it on the lowest mulch setting, grind it up, put some of it in compost, spread the rest around the hedges and the garden beds, and it's gone. It's gone into the soil, and it was easier than what we did, and it didn't affect negatively anyone parking in front of my house. So it doesn't have to be inconvenient, and of course, many neighbors are paying someone to take their leaves away anyway. So for those people who need that wouldn't change. But I think it's just we're hoping to look at this for sure. That's what I think we're hoping to try to get done tonight.
Yeah,
we definitely support doing it this year the way it is.
Terrific. With that, I do think that, as you said, Westchester has it on their webpage, alternatives, and I think that'd be a great addition to our webpage, assuming it's not on there. And hopefully staff can incorporate that if it's not on our webpage currently, because we do want to encourage, at a minimum, best practices. So thank you. And with that, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Thompson?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson absent.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you for that discussion and for removing it off of the consent agenda. Continuing on with current business. Under 6A, we have the ordinance approving a special use for a drive-in eating place, a plan development, modifications from the zoning code, a site plan, and a design review permit for McDonald's at 100 North LaGrange Road, and that's going to be referred to Trustee O'Brien.
Thank you, President Kukler. James E. Olguin Law LLC, on behalf of property owner Franchise Realty Investment Trust, IL, the applicant, is the applicant for the McDonald's property at 100 North LaGrange Road. The applicant is requesting a special use permit, 2, a planned development, 3, planned site approval, or planned site plan approval, and 4, design review permit. The project entails raising the existing McDonald's restaurant and constructing a new 4,090 square foot facility served by dual drive-through lanes. The parking lot will also be reconfigured, providing a total of 23 parking stalls and 5 bike parking spaces. The existing southern access on the LaGrange Road will be removed, and the existing northern access onto LaGrange Road will be widened. The existing access onto Ogden Avenue will remain in its current location and will be narrowed. An outdoor dining patio is proposed along the southern facade of the building. Excuse me. In 1984, the village approved 08429, granting a special use permit to allow construction of a gas station on the subject property. In 1996, the village adopted 09646, amending the 08429 and granting special use permit and site plan approval for a drive-through eating facility with gas station convenience store. The special use and site plan approval were amended in 1997 to finalize the landscaping and screening of the site. The site design approved in 1996-97 remained in place until 2019, when the gas station canopy and pumps were removed from the site and the convenience store ceased operations. 09646 included a limitation on the hours of operation for the McDonald's drive-thru of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. This case was originally heard by the Plan Commission at its May 9th, 2023 meeting and ultimately continued to the June 13th, 2023 meeting. At the May meeting, commissioners expressed general support for the proposed use and site plan. Members of the commission expressed concerns with the submitted facade materials, stating that the colors on the plan did not match those of the materials board and were dark. Commissioners requested to see options of lighter colors to better align with the village's design standards. Residents in attendance at the meeting raised concerns with the applicant's request to amend the special use to allow for 24-hour operations and the applicant's proposed schedule for refuse collection. Excuse me. On June 13th, 2023, the Plan Commission concluded the public hearing. Residents were in attendance and spoke at the meeting, expressing concerns with McDonald's revised proposal to expand its hours of operation to 4 a.m. to midnight. The Plan Commission found that the proposed driveway reconfigurations will improve both on and off-site traffic. The Plan Commission also found that the special use was not altering the existing operations, but did have concerns with the proposed modified hours of operation impacting nearby properties. After deliberation, the Plan Commission voted 6-1 to recommend the application with the following conditions. 1, hours of operation limited to 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sundays through Thursdays, and 5 a.m. to midnight on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday nights preceding a Monday holiday, with deliveries during the hours of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. 2, refuse collection required 6 days a week, excluding holidays. 3, McDonald's is to provide a lighter color for the proposed siding material that is more compatible with LaGrange Crossing, to be approved by staff prior to presentation to the village board. 4, enclose the fencing around the proposed outdoor dining area with a gate. 5, revise plans to reduce lighting levels during non-operation hours. 6, revise plans to reflect a commitment to replace all cracked, uneven, or otherwise damaged sidewalk squares along LaGrange Road and Ogden Avenue. And 7, update plans to include all other recent changes across plan sets. The applicant has since submitted revised materials that adequately address conditions number 3 through 7. Conditions 1 and 2 have been included within the attached ordinance. The revised plan also reflects a minor off-site improvement to pave a small area of adjacent property to the west as a result of an agreement between the applicant and the residential property owner. Staff and the village attorney have prepared the attached proposed ordinance pursuant to the direction of the Plan Commission.
With that, Trustee O'Brien, would you be moving, for the sake of discussion, the motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve as stated.
And a second on that? Trustee Augustine, second. Thank you. With that, I would first like to ask if any of the trustees have any questions to Attorney Olgin, who is here on behalf of the owners of the franchise, regarding his request for additional hours. The motion as just moved and seconded has it for the hours that went before the Plan Commission. So if there's a trustee that's interested in expanding those hours or discussing expanding those hours, now would be the time to discuss that. Trustee Augustine? Trustee Thompson?
Yeah, I did have a question. I know when you met before.
If you're going to ask somebody to come up, they just need to come to the microphone to be able to answer your question. So if it's Attorney Olgin,
Yeah, Attorney Olgin.
and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I'm not, please correct me.
It's Olgin.
Olgin, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Olgi. Glenn Thompson. In the original planning meeting, I think it was the May 9th, you had stated that the hours between 4 and 5 would gain like 5.7% of your revenue. And I understand that hour, but the need for an hour later at night, there was never, to me, anything really clear that came out of what's that hour between mid 11 and 12 on a weeknight actually going to gain the store. So why would they want to extend that hour?
Sure, and just to clarify, that percentage that was provided was actually for all that additional time period that was being requested. So it encompassed both the morning and that additional, time period that we were estimating at the in the evening hours as well. So it wasn't just that 1 hour in the morning. It included.
That was the 24-hour time frame.
No, it was for that additional time period that we were from 4 to midnight is that time period that we were seeing that difference if it got curtailed.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Trustee Augustine.
Yes, thank you, President Kukler. Attorney Olgi, can you think of any examples of franchises or McDonald's in general that aren't franchise owned that are in so close to residential neighborhoods that have longer hours, wider hours than these, and how common is that for you to be able to receive that?
Sure, and we have some folks from our team that can specify if you're looking for specific locations.
And feel free to bring up whoever you think would be best to answer any of the trustees' comments.
Sure, but just to address the general comment, it's really not out of the ordinary for us to have restaurants immediately adjacent to single-family residential homes. And the other component is generally when we go into a community for a restaurant, although they might not necessarily operationally be 24 hours because the demand might not be there, whenever we do go into a community, and part of the reason our initial request was for 24 hours is because that's generally what we request when we go in if there is any kind of limitation on hours of operation. For example, in LaGrange, there is no limitation for restaurants to be open. There's no time limit. So a restaurant in LaGrange could be open 24 hours if it chose to be. And that's generally the way we go into communities. Many communities like LaGrange don't have that restriction, but we just note that that's something that we ask for, and and it doesn't necessarily mean we do that. We operate that if there is no demand. So in terms of specific locations nearby, David. I'm having David Baer. He's the owner-operator of the site.
Thank you. Mr. Baer, if you could just introduce yourself again.
Good evening, David Baer. I'm the owner-operator of Baer Family Restaurants. So amongst our portfolio of restaurants, not all of them are open 24 hours. We have a small subset, and those that are most, where we find we have the biggest opportunity are those that are nestled in to residential communities. So for example, our South Elgin restaurant on Spring and McLean, it's all residential behind us. There is a commercial corridor, slightly a couple bars around us, like we have down here in the Grange with the commercial corridor downtown. that restaurant's 24 hours. I can go down the street on McLean in Elgin, where there's also a residential neighborhood, but there's no other drivers. That restaurant's not open 24 hours. Larkin Avenue, right across the street from the high school, YMCA, and significant housing density around it, that restaurant is open, again, because it's off of a main thoroughfare. So many of our restaurants that are open 24 hours are nestled in residential communities, but we don't go in with every restaurant open 24 hours. The community tells us when they want us to be open, and we gradually, over time, become a 24-hour operating restaurant. And to be clear, we were asking for 24 hours, not to go in at 24 hours, but to have the flexibility over time, should the residents of LaGrange demand or want that type of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burr.
And Trustee Augustine, when we're also talking about our neighbors, we did have the opportunity to meet with our immediate neighbors to the west, and we did discuss the hours of operation. And as I mentioned earlier this evening, when we talked about being collaborative, you know, we took a lot of the concerns that they had and incorporated into our project to make sure that we alleviated those concerns that they had. But also they were willing to cooperate with us, and they actually didn't object to the hours of operation. And these are the folks that would be immediately adjacent to our restaurant and would be most affected by the hours of operation.
Thank you, Attorney Olgi, sorry. With that, other trustee comments? Trustee Augustine, do you have a comment?
I would defer to Glenn first, since I've been hogging the mic.
Go ahead.
Okay, but we are expanding, and either one of you I think can answer this, the hours that you had before the renovation were shorter than what we're willing, that the Plan Commission was willing to approve here, correct?
Correct. The Plan Commission agreed to expand the hours that were in the previous special use approval. So yes, there is an expansion in the amount of time, correct.
Okay, and you're also doing a double drive-through as opposed to the single, so we're gonna see an increased, hopefully, ability for you guys to be able to handle that capacity more efficiently, but
correct.
That will, you know, I could see why the neighbors would want to be cautious and why the board would want to be cautious, given that this is going to change all the patterns. So, you know.
Yeah, the change on the dual drive-through is actually something that's very beneficial in terms of moving people off-site, while if we have, because we're able to be more efficient, get orders out, so you won't have cars lingering as much. And that's actually something that is a net positive for both, not only the restaurant, but also the adjacent property owners, since we can get cars off-site.
Any other comments? Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had comments, not questions, but I just wanted to, thank Mr. Baer for his investment in the village of LaGrange. I know I speak for everybody when I say that. We're always want to be welcoming to folks that invest in the village. And my only comment is, I just want to respect the process with the Plan Commission, with the neighbors. This went through two different hearings. It's settled on a compromise. I think it's worth our support, and that's how I'm going to vote.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Trustee Augustine?
One more thing, not for the folks out there, but for us. I think that, again, similar to what Trustee Gale said, I'm pretty comfortable with what I read here and what the commission has done and what the neighbors have done. I think it's a really good collaboration, even as the representatives from the business have noted. However, so I would be uncomfortable changing what is set forth here.
I'm sorry, did you say comfortable or
I would be uncomfortable changing what has been permitted by and suggested by the commission. I would, though, and I was talking to our attorney here about this, I would like to entertain the future prospect of reserving the right to have this board review it in a later date if it is determined somehow that it's going well, it's quiet, it's non-disturbing, and if the residents would be willing to support possibly a time change. I'd certainly be willing to revisit it at some point, but I wouldn't support it tonight.
Oh, okay, and did you get the direction that you needed from
Ben, is that?
Attorney Schuster? I mean, I assume.
So there's a couple options, one of which is under our current procedures, the applicant always has a right to come back, file a new application, go back through the Plan Commission, and seeking a modification to the hours. The other thing that you can do is, if you wanted to avoid the process of going back through the Plan Commission, is state that the applicant can ask to extend the hours with the approval of the village board without requiring a full application to amend the special use and plan development conditions. So that is up to you on whether, if you'd want to reserve yourself the right to make that change without going back to the public hearings through the Plan Commission.
Okay. I'm definitely not in favor of that, but I would leave that to the trustees. If the trustees are in favor of that, what would be the procedure? Would it be to not vote for this, or what would be, because there's a motion pending?
There's a motion. There can be, if trustees desire, they can make an amendment to the motion to add and modify the condition and hours to say that they can be extended upon a request and approval by the village board.
Okay, so I would ask the trustees, do any trustees want to bring an amendment to the current motion, and then that would have to be voted on by the trustees?
Yep.
Do any trustees wish to amend the current motion?
I would like to amend the current motion. I think, yeah, I would like to amend the current motion. I think to reserve the right to review it after the restaurant's been open for extended hours.
Okay.
And not go back through the long planning process, commission process, I think is workable. I understand no longer late hours, but the morning hour, that is where I have to go to Countryside or Brookville to get breakfast when I go to the airport, and I should be able to shop in my own town. So I think we're looking short-sighted at the side of business that could be generated that hour, but we don't want to interfere with the neighbors and understand that, so we need to see how it works.
Okay, so you're moving to amend, and you'll have plenty of time, if it gets a second, to argue why we should amend. So there is now a motion to amend the motion. Is there a second on the motion to amend? Is that Trustee Augustine seconding? Trustee McGee is seconding the motion to amend. With that, anybody that wants to discuss the motion to amend, and it's my understanding, and Attorney Schuster, correct me if I'm wrong, that what we would be amending is to allow the village board to make a decision about expanding hours without having the applicant to have to go through the Plan Commission.
Correct. That the applicant can make a request to the village board to approve an extension of the hours without going back through the Plan Commission.
And this would be at any time in the future?
Correct.
Okay. With this, I'm just going to go left to right and ask if anybody wants to comment on the amendment. So, Trustee Thompson, any comments you want to make?
I think it would be a good amendment to make. I think we need to try to be more pro-business, but also take care of the neighbors. This is a major renovation, a major rebuild, so let's see how it goes and then see if we can extend those hours, because I think we do need to be more open to business in this town as we move forward.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Trustee McGee, any comments, questions? Thank you, Trustee McGee. Trustee Augustine.
Yeah, I similar to Trustee Thompson, I have had projects where I'm up early, and that's one of the few places you can go get something on the way. So I think morning hours possible, but I wouldn't consider any of it. I really like what the commission has suggested here and the process that's been delivered to us. I'd just like to reserve the right, if we find that it's working out really well, if the neighbors are not only not complaining in the future, but saying it's worked out really well, everything that they've said would happen is happening. Under those circumstances, I would consider it, and under nothing else. It would have to be fully supported. So why not have it be an option if it does go very, very well?
Again, you're supportive, understanding this is anytime in the future. Okay, I'll talk. I'm not supportive at all. I think it's a bad idea to take it away from the Plan Commission. I think that the Plan Commission serves an important role of having residents and really teasing out what people want. I think that if it was known to the residents that we were even considering an agreement that was made by this McDonald's and their residents, and we were going to tweak it, that they would have stormed this meeting and told us they're not in favor of that. I think switching it now and then saying, well, we don't need to hear from the Plan Commission 10 years from now, 20 years from now, is flat out bad practice. And I would urge trustees to keep it with the Plan Commission as a review. I will say personally that I only vote when these things are ties. So I rarely vote. But if it came to me on a tie, I'd probably vote because of the vote of 6-1 on the Plan Commission. But I don't like the proposal. I think doing the double drive-through is altering operations. I do think it's increasing traffic. I do think it's potentially increasing pollution. I do think that McDonald's could have done more on their building. While I appreciate anyone wanting to come into LaGrange to build, I think LaGrange is the best community in the country. And I think in LaGrange, we should be demanding A projects, not B projects or C projects. And with demanding, when a business comes in and says, I know your ordinance doesn't allow double drive-throughs, that allows us to say, well, if we're going to bend on that, then give us some more things. And I'm not sure that enough, personally, was given by the applicant. Again, I stayed silent when this was a matter that wasn't being amended. I think I signaled that I wasn't in favor of amending the hours, but I did stay silent. I'm only talking because now it's being amended, and I feel so strongly about this item. So with that, Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, a procedural question. So, Ben, the way this is going to work is this is a vote right now to approve what the motion in front of us, but with then any changes subsequently are going to come directly to us, not to the Plan Commission, right?
That's the proposed amendment.
So there's two pieces. It's approve what's in front of us, but with the change that.
So the first vote is on the amendment itself, not the ordinance.
Okay.
You would need a second vote on the ordinance, but right now what we're talking about is a motion to amend the proposed ordinance. So this would be a change to really section. If you look at the ordinance itself, it would be a modification to Section 8 of Section D, which lays out the hours.
I got it. We're going to have two votes.
Two votes.
Right. Yep. Okay. Very good. Very good. So I'm opposed. I mean, we should not take this away from the Plan Commission. All they've got to do is fill out another application, go to the Plan Commission, get the Plan Commission to approve it. It gives everybody in the community the opportunity to come out and voice their opinions, and then it comes to us. I mean, a quorum of this board is 4 people, right? Someone else is sick. Three of us are going to decide. I think we should respect the process again and the long compromise that went into this. So I don't support amending the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. One point of clarification, because Trustee Peterson is absent. On these votes, is it 3 trustees that they need or 4 trustees?
It is 4 trustees.
Okay.
It is a majority of this body, of the corporate authority. So it's going to be.
And do I vote
votes.
or not vote?
You do not vote.
Okay.
Unless it's a tie.
So just so everybody knows here, we're going to need 4 trustee votes. And Trustee O'Brien, anything you want to say?
Not at this time.
Okay, going back, now that you've heard everyone talk, I'll give every of these trustees, if you would like to add anything more. I don't want you to feel like you were cut off. If you made your statements, no need to talk. If you feel the need to talk, I'll start with Trustee Thompson and move down. Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Trustee McGee, anything? Do you need to add anything more? So Trustee Augustin.
Thank you. Yes, just because each time it goes back and forth, other interesting points are brought up. And I greatly respect our process, but there's a reason it goes from that board to this board. And there are occasionally times in our recent past where we have overruled something with different considerations in mind, but no one disrespects the process. I greatly respect this board. It is something that came up as a surprise to us tonight. I think that the process to go through all this again is expensive and time consuming, and since our attorney suggested it was an option, I thought it might be a business friendly way to go about this if and only if they exceed expectations. And So it feels like there's some suggestion that this isn't respecting the process, and I greatly respect the process, so I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. I think every trustee got to say what they would like, and I certainly did, maybe too much. But with that, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote on the amendment.
Trustee Thompson? Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee McGee? Nay. Trustee Gale?
No.
Trustee O'Brien?
Nay.
Okay, and that motion fails to carry. Any more discussion on the original motion, which was the hours of 5 to 11, Sunday through Thursday, 5 to 12 on Friday and Saturday, and Sundays during 3-day holidays?
And to clarify, it's really the motion to approve the ordinance as drafted with those hours, as you just stated.
Thank you, Attorney Schuster. Is correct. So as the motion is in the packet. Any trustee comments on that? Seeing none, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote on that.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee McGee? Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Thompson?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson absent.
And that passes unanimously. Congratulations on that. We do wish McDonald's all the best. We appreciate the Bear family's investment in LaGrange and continued investment in LaGrange. And we're excited to see how it looks and how it operates. And thank you for your time and effort. And thank you to the residents, and thank you to the Planning Commission. It really was an example of how it should work in small villages. So thank you for everyone's effort. With that, we would move on to the LaGrange Business Association West End Art Festival special event request. It was going to be referred to Trustee Peterson, but since she's absent, I would ask Trustee O'Brien, since he's doing the heavy lifting tonight, to read that one.
Thank you, President Kukler. The LaGrange Business Association, LGBA, has submitted the attached as part of their request to conduct the 27th Annual West End Arts Festival. The festival is proposed to take place on Saturday, September 9th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, September 11th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. As in past years, the event will celebrate performance and culinary arts in addition to hosting the annual juried fine art show, which features over 60 artists, live music and a variety of children's activities and entertainment, including those organized by the LaGrange Public Library, are also planned. The 2023 Summer Art Series, Happy Together, will conclude with a live silent auction of the hand-painted friendship benches on Saturday. Funds raised from the sale of the benches will benefit area charitable organizations. Detailed event programming can be found on the event's dedicated webpage, www.westendartsfestival.com. The festival is proposed to be held on Burlington Avenue between Brainerd and Wayola Avenues, as well as in the park area surrounding the Stone Avenue train station. The event will feature local food vendors. Alcohol is proposed to be sold and served for consumption throughout the event area by the LGBA's licensed caterer, Monk's Burgers and more. Staff recommends appropriate alcohol controls at the point of purchase and monitoring thereafter by catering staff and LGBA volunteers, with sales to occur only during festival hours and no open alcohol permitted outside the event area. Approval of the request will include 1, the closure of Burlington Avenue and a portion of Stone Avenue from 9 a.m. September 8th to 9 p.m. September 10th. 2, suspension of parking restrictions in Lot 13 from 9 a.m. September 8th to 9 p.m. September 10th to allow for overnight parking of event exhibitors' trailers. 3, suspension of time limitations for parking surrounding the event area. And 4, a waiver of restrictions for the outdoor display and sale of goods and services in the C2 zoning district. Permission for LGBA and its vendors to serve alcohol from the Liquor Commissioner will also be needed. Staff recommends approval of the request under the following conditions. 1, the village will maintain final approval of site, security, parking, and utility plans. Number 2, the LGBA is to provide proof of appropriate liability insurance from itself and other appropriate parties and name the Village of LaGrange as additional insured for this event. 3, an acknowledgement, release, and waiver is to be signed by the LGBA and participating event vendors holding the Village of LaGrange harmless. 4, the LGBA shall secure all necessary approvals from the Burlington Northern Railroad and/or Metra. 5, all overtime and material costs incurred by the Village of LaGrange will be reimbursed by the LGBA. And 6, the following effective parties shall be notified of event details prior to the event. A, businesses within and adjacent to the festival area. B, residents on Stoutstone Avenue from Burlington to Cossett Avenue. C, residents on South Wyola from Burlington to Cossett. D, the administration of Lyons Township High School North Campus. And E, commuters utilizing the Stone Avenue's train station will advise of the event and the closure of Burlington Avenue. I move to approve this as presented.
Thank you, Trustee O'Brien. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Any discussion on the LGBA's West End Festival? Trustee Gale.
For this question maybe for Charity or Jack, who that Stone Avenue train station, if I remember correctly, like years ago, I thought I learned that like that those grounds are like Metra controlled. Is that right, or is that ours, or the Park District, or who owns that? I know the station is owned by Metra, but
Boy, you're testing my memory. I think the land is within the BNSF right-of-way.
Okay.
BNSF is separate than Metra.
Right.
And BNSF owns the tracks and owns a lot of the land. And when we're trying to get, construction coordinated and things, both entities like to point the finger and say, oh, we can't do it because them. But it seems that BNSF makes the final decision on most of the things in that area.
Okay, thanks. That's just more curious. Yeah.
All right. Any other trustee comments, questions on this? It's always a great thing, kind of the end of the summer event, and we wish the LGBA all the luck and success, and we're thrilled to have it back. With that, I would ask for Clerk Saladino to conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson is absent. Trustee McGee, now absent.
And Trustee McGee is not feeling well, so she steps outside, and we wish her the best. With that, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to public comments regarding matters not on tonight's agenda. Please come to the podium and introduce yourself again. And
hello, I'm Dave May. I was a member of the Environmental Quality Commission for several years. My concerns and proposals were never acted on by the commission, but this village board may find some of value and consider them. They are: LaGrange's air is polluted night and day by locomotives' diesel emissions. Besides causing health dangers, this exhaust also contributes to global warming. The village should demand that the EPA tighten locomotive pollution regulations and should encourage Metra, BNSF, Amtrak, and the Indiana Harbor Belt to accelerate their transition to lower emission diesel engines, especially Tier 4. The LaGrange Road train station should be remodeled to serve as an example of how an old building, like many of our LaGrange homes, can be heated and cooled with electricity. We can work with Metra and our state legislators to receive grants to install solar panels on the station roof and canopies, to install a building battery system, replace natural gas heating with an electric heat pump system, insulate walls and attics, and install storm windows. We need to add trees to village parking lots. I'm embarrassed to see that local privately owned parking lots have more trees than our village-owned lots. We definitely need to add trees to the Calendar parking lot number 5 and the 6th and Harris parking lot number 2. LaGrange should encourage electric vehicles. We should reduce or eliminate the village fee for electric vehicles. We should enact a building code requirement that an electric vehicle charging circuit and outlets be installed when constructing new garages. We also should facilitate the installation of public electric vehicle charging stations. Regarding gas-powered landscaping equipment, we must suppress the noise, reduce the air pollution, cut CO2 emissions, and protect the ears and lungs of landscape company employees. Initially, we could make at least some recommendations and later consider control ordinances, as many suburban towns have already done. The village government's carbon footprint must be reduced. We should set reduction goals for the village's consumption of fossil fuels and track its consumption of gasoline, diesel fuel, natural gas, and electricity. One way to reduce electricity consumption would be to remove half of the ridiculously excessive number of streetlights on Hillgrove, and between midnight and 5 a.m. turn off half of those that remain. To encourage bicycling, we should offer to collaborate with LaGrange Park to create a bike route from our downtown and LaGrange Road train station running to the northeast. To encourage walking in the winter, we should remove plowed snow windrows from the gutters at intersections that block sidewalk routes to schools, train stations, and downtown. Finally, the village board should issue a climate change resolution supporting a federal carbon tax and dividend to combat global warming. In an advisory referendum a few years ago, over 81% of LaGrange voters supported enacting such a law. If you want to know more about any of these or have any questions, please contact me. I have a lot of info on all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. May. Thank you for your service on the EQC, your service on School Board 102 and other boards and commissions. We appreciate your commitment to the village. Any other comments?
Hi again. I think you guys are.
Just if you could introduce yourself, Becky. I know we all know you, but we're hoping that there's some new viewers.
Becky Lorenzen, LaGrange resident. I think you already covered this before I got here, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we have Diversity Days in LaGrange coming up the second weekend of September. On Friday night, we're going to be showing the movie Emmett Till at the library at 5:30 with free pizza and a discussion afterwards. On Saturday, we're having our last tile laying session. And on Sunday, we have our, I think, 32nd annual Race Unity Rally here in Village Hall. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Becky, for coming. And we did mention Sunday, but we did not, or I failed to, I should say, mention Friday and Saturday. So I appreciate you coming up. And that's great. And free pizza, usually we'll get some people, though. I know it's a great thing. And if you didn't sit down, I would have talked about Emmett Till's the anniversary, but you sat too quickly. But anyway, we'll move on to the next public comment.
Hello. Bridget Murphy. I live in the 500 South block of Brainerd. I'm excited and congratulations to our new chief, because the last time I was here, we still had the old chief when I came to talk about some traffic and safety concerns in that south section of Brainerd Avenue, south of 47th, north of 55th. If you recall, back in 2020, they put in that lovely flashing light crosswalk, and we were hoping that that would alleviate some of the traffic flow, I guess, that fails to stop for the walkers. I don't know that it's working. I did request history of some of the speeding tickets issued on the street. I think that it was Trustee Gale who had asked our previous police chief to light them up because there weren't really enough tickets being issued and speeding still concern. I just would like to re-ask the board to consider some safety measures that maybe could be implemented there to slow down that flow of traffic. From the reports that I did get that were issued over the past 3 years, there are 7 speeding tickets that were issued. I'm sorry, 7 tickets, and some of those were warnings, which was in response to my ask for a study, which the police did do. They did sit there. You can see the dates where I had called, complained about the speeding, and then there were a couple of warnings issued within a couple day times period. But if you look at those reports, and Manager Knight and President Kukler, you were on that email with the FOIA request, you can see that the speeding tickets issued and warnings issued were all in this range of 11 to 14 miles per hour, and then a few 15 to 20. So that speed limit on Brainerd is 30 miles an hour.
Right, so you meant over 11 to...
Yes, sorry, 11 to 14 over. Oh, I wish it was 11 to 14. That'd be great. Yes, 11 to 14 miles per hour over the speed limit, which at that rate is 40 miles per hour, 44 miles an hour. I mean, that is obviously enough to fatally harm someone, especially a child. So I would just re-ask again, additional policing, especially as you had mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, school's back in session, kids are crossing at that crosswalk, cars are not stopping. I would ask again to consider a stop sign along that 1 mile long stretch of road. There is no stop sign. I can't find another residential street in LaGrange that goes a mile without a stop sign. And I would propose other methods such as getting one of those nice signs like you guys have on LaGrange Road here that says how fast people are driving, and also potentially speed bumps if there's some studies that can be done around that. So that's it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Yep.
We appreciate it. Again, as you indicated, it's perfect timing with the back to school. A lot of the people that are driving on the road and speeding on the road are residents. Yep. And encouraging them either through guilt, shame, or tickets is what we need to continue to do, because safety has to be a priority. So thank you for coming out.
Of course. Just a question then to the trustees. I mean, what sort of action follows if speeding shame doesn't work? Like,
well,
what can you advise to the residents?
Sure. We can advise that putting stop signs on Brainerd isn't something that's easy to do or probably is ever going to happen. There's Gilbert, there's Brainerd, there's a LaGrange Road, there's East Avenue. Those are the main north-south roads, and they are designed. I live basically on Brainerd myself, at Brainerd and Bell, and so it is a heavily traveled street. It's different than the other streets that you're pointing out. They're supported federally, federal money, county money, state money, county money. It's just different roads, and we can't just put stop signs like we can other places. I can tell you that Public Works and village staff will tell you absolutely no for any speed bumps anywhere. They're just not best practices, so that's never going to happen. We as a board don't really tell our police chief how to do his job. We do encourage, that safety and the appropriate intervals, safety is, a priority of ours. But it's up to really the police department to determine and village manager to determine how best to use their resources and what's appropriate. And so that we'll continue to do that, and individual trustees will probably be vocal on doing that. But we're not ever going to say, this road should be patrolled or tickets should be written at this speed limit or things like that. We're not experts in that area. We do hire great experts, and Chief Griffin is the expert, and I know that safety is one of his priorities. So, and his whole teams. So I know that we'll continue to work on the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again for coming.
Hi, I'm Laura West from LaGrange. I'll echo Bridget's comments. I live right near LT North, and it was an extremely dangerous racetrack. The first week of high school, really scary, nothing I've ever seen like that. And Cosset is insane from Gilbert to Blackstone. There's nothing. Cars probably go 50, 60 miles an hour, and this is kids literally racing other kids with little kids. Anyway. So I think it is a really important problem. I am mainly here to discuss another important problem of flooding. I'll keep it brief. I do look at the village website. I've become updated on the updated FAQ. I have 3 questions, comments that are not addressed on there. The North of 47 study is said to be gathering data, I believe, is the stage it's in right now through October. I have yet to see and witness any of this with my eyes or have anybody ask myself or any other residents for information. I've repeatedly asked over the past couple of years what data is gathered during flood events and how the village is capturing information and what they're using. Public Works knows the problem very well. I don't think the problem is very well understood by these engineers, and I am extremely concerned about the information that they are getting to base their recommendations off of. Garbage in, garbage out. The residents are the experts, and I would strongly encourage that we are allowed to participate in this data gathering phase of the study. My second concern is funding of any recommendations. There's nothing listed on the website as far as plans to fund or actually implement what these engineers might recommend. About a year plus ago, there was a lot of celebration about federal funds that former Congresswoman Marie Newman secured. I haven't heard any updates on that or other efforts or successes to secure additional funds from other places or to dedicate money within the budget of the Village of LaGrange to act upon these projects north of 47th. My third question and concern is the LT Westfield. While I've not seen anybody collecting information on flooding, engineering studies speaking, I have seen a lot of action on the LT field. People taking pictures, people looking at it, people making plans, and it is my thought that they're moving quickly. I spoke at the last meeting this summer asking about how the village was interacting with LT, with MWRD, with the county, any other entities at stake, and what is the status of that? Where are we on that? Are we using this as an opportunity to capture floodwater, or is this going to be another major blow to the residents of this area that only increases our flooding issues? So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. We do appreciate your comments. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I would ask if there's any trustee comments. Start on my right. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just really quick, 2 things. One, Chief Griffin, I did previously talk about the police lighting up people. I think I'll rephrase that a different way and just simply say you'll never get a complaint from me if about there's too many tickets, or if someone comes to me and says, oh, I got a ticket, I shouldn't have got a ticket. I will respond, well, you probably shouldn't have been speeding or doing whatever you were doing. So I just wanted to share that with you since you are, welcome to LaGrange. Since you're new to our village. And then I want to thank Village Manager Jack, and I wanted to thank Rick in absentia about, I had reached out about Brainerd and the train tracks and how that was closed for, the first week of school, and it looks like, I don't know if just happenstance they sped up or, they got the work done faster before school opened, but that was, thanks for your efforts. And of course, maybe if they could have left a speed bump there, that would have helped. I don't, but appreciate your help on that. So thanks.
I have mentioned to people that if we don't repair any potholes, it will slow down traffic, but that's a real, balancing, weighing, what's best. Any trustee comments? Trustee Austin?
I do, yes. Thank you, President Kukler. Also regarding speeding, if there's a way for us to help you or for you to suggest an increase in fines, a big increase in fines for speeding in our community. If that is known to be a deterrent, if that can help deter, if that's something we can promote, I would love to see anything that we can do within our power to get people thinking twice about speeding. Also, I think the inadequate amount of parking for LT North is what also adds to some of the speeding around during school morning hours. Kids are scrambling to find a spot, so that's a separate issue that I think we can talking about with a comprehensive plan, but I'd love to see LT fix that because I think that would take some of the pressure off, at least the morning commute. But yeah, anything we can do to get more teams out there in that area in particular would be wonderful. I was going to say something about Rick, who's not here tonight, but I was happy to read that we have the IHB sidewalk on Cossett being worked on separate and improved, and I just wanted to bump that up again. That's a huge deal, and great job, staff and everybody, for helping push that into the residents who continue to raise that issue. That's major, and I think the folks who use that pathway will be really happy. And then the other thing is just the quarry is still blasting, and they're still putting lots of dust out there into our environment, and the trucks are still dropping rocks all over the place. So if any of you haven't joined this quarry Facebook group, Lyons Township Quarry Information / Underground Blasting at McCook Quarry, do so. From there, you'll learn a lot about how to add your opinion and eventually learn a little bit more about some of the steps the group is taking to try to get the attention and some changes from the quarry. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Trustee Thompson?
Thank you, President Kugler. And to Laura West's question, it was the last time there was a big rain when we thought it was going to flood. I know Russell was out riding around town. I was out riding around town looking, especially in your area, looking at where it was going to flood and where the actual water was flowing through. And I chased all day 2 Burke engineering cars, and they were literally sitting there watching the water run down the gutter so they could design where water flow is coming from, which is really the only way you can do it when you're looking at these strange intersections. So the Burke guys are in town quite often, especially when it's raining, riding around, studying water patterns and looking for that. So they are out there working and trying to learn the way water flows, because that's the way they need to see it in low times, not just in high times, where you really catch where water skips over manways, skips over storm sewers, and causes flooding. And I will say, on the speeding, I would, I live on the corner of Spring and 47th, and speeding has definitely, since school started, picked up. Very reckless drivers. So, in riding down Brainerd, I like to drive down Brainerd at 30 miles an hour just to make the guy behind me mad. So we do need to focus on slowing down people. And as Lou says, I'll never complain if somebody gets a ticket in this town because you got it and you earned it. So let's earn a lot of people some anger and some tickets. But we do need to slow down and focus on it because it is a very dangerous situation. Cars are racing on 47th, and now they're racing on Brainerd and other streets. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Trustee Thompson. And I guess I'll end with encouraging all the LT students on these beautiful days to walk to school. We all walked uphill both ways, so it's easy for us to say. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
And a second.
A second.
And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting is adjourned at 9:30.